Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Colby. I am the instructor for Pima Medical Institute's critical thinking class. I wanted to make a video today to talk about the lesson that we have this week and kind of provide an overview of the content and the discussion that we have taking place. So let me share the screen and take a look at the weekly announcement. Every week there will be an announcement like this that kind of details what we're doing for the week and talks about deadlines and things like that. So last week we had an introduction discussion, got to know each other a little bit, and talked about the idea of creating a bouncer in our mind to sort of filter out what we focus on and don't focus on. Talked about our various organizational methods for dealing with all of the craziness that we have in our lives. This week, we're going to talk about what it means to become a critical thinker or how we become a critical thinker. So, critical thinking can be thought of as the process of examining what we think we know and how we know what we know. What logical steps did we take to reach our conclusions about aspects of the world? Did we really think things through, or did we just sort of go with the flow with the accepted idea or the accepted knowledge? Our work for the week is the obedience discussion. The obedience discussion, like all of our discussions in this class, will run from Wednesday through Sunday. So this week it's Wednesday the 13th through Sunday the 17th. And first posts need to be in by Friday. And in order to earn full credit, you have to both get your posts in by Friday, first post in by Friday, and also submit at least a couple of replies to your classmates. So let's take a look at what this discussion is all about. Um, this discussion is on the Milgram study. If you're not familiar with it, let me explain it a little bit. There's a video that you need to watch, and then based on the video, you answer the discussion questions. The Milgram study is this experiment, this psychological experiment that was done in which a participant is brought in to sort of the test area, the lab or whatever, and they are explained that they are going to be asking questions to another willing participant who will be in a different room hooked up to a machine. And every time that person gets a question wrong, the participant will have to administer a shock. They'll push a button and that person will get shocked. And with each wrong question, the voltage of the electrical shock will go up. Now, the trick to the Milgram experiment, the Milgram study, is that the other person isn't actually in the other person is in on the trick. They're not actually in another room getting shocked, but the participant doesn't know that. So the participant is in a room with an authority figure, and as the questions keep getting answered wrong and the voltage keeps increasing, as far as they know, they are starting to deliver dangerous levels of pain and voltage to the other person. And there's even like a recording that plays with sounds of screams and agony and, let me out, I don't want to do this anymore kind of thing. And the idea, what the experiment is actually kind of testing is the extent to which our own sense of right and wrong can be sort of frozen or negated by the presence of an authority figure who is kind of standing there telling us that everything is okay. So you need to watch the video and then answer a couple of questions about the study. One thing I would say as you answer the questions is to remember that we are watching the study from the nice, safe distance and comfort of our homes. One thing that I always notice with this discussion is that everyone seems so shocked, like, oh, I guess that was a bad pun. No pun intended. Everyone seems shocked, like, oh, I can't believe people would do that. And yet, the majority of people participating in the study carried on to dangerous levels. So what makes us so different from them? The only answer I have for that is that we're talking about the study, having watched a video about it, knowing it's a study rather than having participated in it. So just kind of think that as you are contemplating your response to the study or what your response would be, just remember that we are thinking about the study from a nice, safe location, nice, safe distance, right? But it's a really interesting study. So I hope you'll enjoy the discussion. Remember, get your first post in by Friday and reply to at least a few classmates in order to earn full credit. The next thing I want to look through is just briefly go through this presentation that I created about kind of becoming a critical thinker. This is found as a link in the morning announcer, in the weekly announcement. But let's just kind of go through some of this together. Um, So critical thinking, what is a critical thinker? It's someone who makes a conscious decision and effort to analyze, reason, and react accordingly to the world. The key word here is conscious. It involves conscious thought. The critical thinking is not really our default setting. It's not what we do just kind of naturally. It requires us to consciously consider scenarios and different uh, possibilities about the world. More plainly, a critical thinker is one who questions everything through rational logic, and this idea of questioning everything is one that's going to get repeated quite a bit throughout the class. Um, Critical thinking has its roots in philosophical skepticism, which dates back to ancient Greece in like 360 BCE with this guy Philo of Elis. The skepticism marked a change in philosophy and human thought, where beliefs and opinions were no longer sufficient. Reason and logic, evidence, facts, strong arguments became demanded, and questioning everything becomes the rule. The skeptics were sort of famous for never fully believing anything, which kind of sounds like a bad thing, maybe. But what they meant was that um, they were always open to new evidence, new proofs, um, new ideas about how the world worked, and if what they thought, if if new information replaced their understanding of the world, that was okay. Which is a radical change in human thought, where that really wasn't the way that the world worked for quite a long time. Another one of these early ancient Greek philosophers, these pre-Socratics, meaning before Socrates, that's worth noting here is Thales. He's often considered sort of the father of ancient or of philosophy as a whole. And Thales lived at a time and a place where those around him believed that things like tsunamis and floods and droughts were all caused by the gods. Crop failure was caused by the gods, all of it. And Thales is really the first person who says maybe that's not the case. He begins to question and sort of look for scientific explanations as to why these things happen. He's totally wrong about almost every scientific, quote unquote, scientific explanation he comes up with, but he's really the first person who's trying to look for scientific reasoning behind the functions of the world. So critical thinkers are those who use evidence. They demand proof rather than trusting in tradition and belief. There's nothing wrong with tradition and belief. Tradition and belief are good things, but simply because something has traditionally been accepted or traditionally been believed doesn't make it right or good. So critical thinkers look for the evidence. Critical thinkers consider opposition. They recognize that there might be many different answers to a question, each with varying degrees of logic, or that you know that someone who disagrees with you might have just as good of reasons for their stance as you have for yours. Their position may make as much sense and come from as much logic and sense as yours does, and so it becomes less of a confrontational thing disagreeing with someone and more of an opportunity to try and better understand. And they tend to avoid opinions. Critical thinkers try to avoid opinions, and this is something that we'll talk about quite a bit in this class, or think about, especially like in your assignments. um, your personal opinion about things really doesn't matter that much. Everybody has an opinion, but can you support that opinion with research, with evidence, with facts, with proof, with sound reasoning, right? Oh, sorry. Okay, so there we go. There are three stages of cognitive development that go along with critical thinking. The first one is dualism. This is where everything is right or wrong, A or B. Dualistic thought is sort of like a safety mechanism in our brains because the world is complex, and most questions or controversies that we face in our lives have more than two options. But thinking about the multitude of options, the multitude of possibilities, that's really hard. Um, so our brains tend to condense things down to two choices because that's easy, and safe and comfortable. Stage two of our cognitive development is relativism. This is where people come to the idea that there's just no right or wrong answers. You look at that multitude of possibilities and you're just like, oh, there is no right or wrong. anything goes. Stage 3 is where we kind of build upon that relativism, and we commit to something. Because we still need to make decisions, we still need to act, we still need to live our lives and move forward. So we have to make decisions. So can we please make those decisions based on evidence and reasoning? So all of this leads to the idea that critical thinkers and skepticism allow room for an individual to change one's mind upon new information and evidence. And knowledge as a whole becomes a much more fluid concept where it's always being tested. What we think we know isn't just, okay, I know this, therefore it's 100% concrete. I never have to think about it again. Instead, knowledge becomes something that we regularly test, we question, and if necessary, we replace it as more logical arguments, better evidence, better examples become clear. So hopefully that helps you with a little bit of an understanding about critical thinking and sort of the ideas that we'll be discussing in this class. Again, our discussion runs from Wednesday to Sunday, and your first posts need to be in by Friday. And remember to submit a few replies to your classmates in order to earn full credit. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll try and make short videos of like this most weeks throughout the class. Maybe not every week, but most weeks to kind of give you an overview of what we will be doing for the week. That's it. I'll see you guys next time.